Good morning.
I'd sit up front so you can see a friend.
Did you get that email I sent you?
Yeah, I did.
That was pretty good.
I think we're gonna hear some of that next Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so. Uh-huh.
So was this sent to Dave?
Yeah, David.
Maybe I'll run a copy of it and get it back.
Oh, right, he shuffled into somewhere else.
Is she?
Uh-huh.
I'll just try to get I'll step up there. Run a copy of it. See if she might gather all that stuff, huh? Okay, I'm having a hard time finding my agenda here. Where am I? Go. Okay, let me,
I just went to the,
board docs.
yeah,
And this was at when? Oh,
go down, yeah.
Okay.
And I think,
Okay, we got
That
this,
one there.
that's an executive session to discipline the kid.
yeah,
And
and it
this
says
is,
a road, check on that.
oh, roadmap.
Yeah.
See, that one was at 9 o'clock, this one was at 10, so I guess I should have clicked on that one.
uh-huh.
See what this agenda looks like.
So,
Okay.
Kelly one.
Yeah, they did.
Are we here?
We're waiting to make sure the link is active,
Oh, okay.
and then we'll get going, Mr. Chairman. Or, yeah, how close are we? Oh, we're still 5 out.
Okay. It's for 10 o'clock, okay.
This is clocked fast.
It is a little bit. Uh-huh.
We decided to leave it that way.
Just a couple
Oh.
minutes, though.
No, I got it. It
It's
came,
too much trouble to get a ladder to go up there.
I just went back to here.
It's okay.
I read southeast Idaho help to taste it.
We actually have Maggie here today,
Oh.
and so she'll talk to the
She'll
board.
talk Okay. I can't remember what I read, but I think that's.
Yeah, we're mild still in Banning.
I just,
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, all the preventative measures we take and then, yep. Mhm. Yep. Next week, I think. I'm having a hard time keeping track of who's in and who's delayed and how far they're delayed and if they're just remote. Send it to Kevin. I'll send it to you, to the board. Yeah, it's a map, and you can look at all the districts and whether they're hybrid or remote or, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get that out to you today. Okay.
Here we go. Okay, I call this meeting to order for the purpose of a special meeting to discuss the Pocatello-Chubbuck School District number 25 roadmap instructional models. And we will begin with a review of the roadmap and flow chart and administrative recommendations with, do you want me to talk with you, Dr. Howell, Ms. Pettit, Mr. Minor, and Ms. Fisher?
Oh.
Who wants to start?
Well, actually, I will start, Mr. Chairman, and if I could, my comments will be somewhat brief to start, and then, because I know we have a number of patrons that would like to share their thoughts, feelings, and concerns with you today, as well as those that you've received through written correspondence, whether it be email or direct mail or whatever other communications you've received. So I know the board has reviewed those. On behalf of the Teachers Association, Mrs. McCrory sent you quite a number of staff feedback input forms as well. So you've had a lot of reading the last week or so. So first of all, I would like to recognize and thank the board for their strength and their courage and their wisdom. You know, these are difficult times to say the least. And so we know that you represent your families and the livelihoods that you've had here in our community. So I thank you. I thank the parents and the students, the learners that have provided us some insightful feedback as we consider how we move forward today. And to say too that feedback and those thoughts were very respectful and considerate, and recognizing all the work of the board and the administration. So with that, I want to give a huge thank you to our guests today from Southeast Idaho Public Health, Mrs. Maggie Mann. And Maggie, if I could have you come forward. We work in tandem with Southeast Idaho Public Health. It's multiple calls a day or texts, it seems like, and Maggie is always willing to provide her insight from her department, the data that supports it, and together we try to provide the board with the most current information so that you can make informed decisions. And so again, with the roadmap in mind, everything in that roadmap points us back to Southeast Idaho Public Health and what they provide to us as far as counsel. So with that, I would like Mrs. Mann to talk to you a little bit today, and then I will provide you a recommendation on behalf of administration, and then we'll move forward if that would be acceptable. Okay, Mrs. Mann?
Dr. Howell, thank you very much for the invitation to come share our perspective with you, and thank you to the board and the patrons of the school district as well for this opportunity to share some information with you. So I want to start out just briefly touching on the two goals that have been foremost in our minds in public health since this first started impacting our local community in late February, early March. And our goals have really been twofold. One has been to protect those people who are most vulnerable among us, so people who, as they age, are at higher risk for complications, and also people who might have some type of underlying health condition that would place them at higher risk for severe outcomes. The second goal has been to protect our healthcare capacity, because we have seen in other parts of this country and around the world that when COVID cases start to rise exponentially, healthcare capacity is really strained. And we're concerned about that not only for patients with COVID, but also for people who need access to healthcare for more day-to-day routine types of things. People who maybe we have a child who's broken a leg or a person who is experiencing a heart attack. We want to make sure that the healthcare that we've become accustomed to being able to access remains available. That said, we have done very well in this community and in southeastern Idaho to a great extent at managing this. Our intent has never been to prevent every infection. We know that that's an impossible task, and that has not been our goal. But our hope has been to manage it and keep it under some semblance of control. So as the governor transitioned decision-making to a more local level, we have strived very much to find a balance between overreaction and not acting soon enough. And that balance is sometimes tricky to find. But our board is working hard to find that balance. Our staff are working hard to find that balance, and our community partners are working hard to find that balance. And I want to extend our appreciation to School District 25 and their leadership, because they have been very thoughtful and rigorous in their approach to how to come back to school. Because I will say, as a parent myself, we want kids back in school to the greatest extent possible. And we need to do that as safely as possible. And so when we talk with the school district, as Superintendent Howell mentioned, pretty much on a daily basis, just running things by each other, bouncing things back and forth, problem solving, looking at emerging data, because this is still a fairly new situation. We continue to learn things on sometimes a day-to-day basis about what this virus is capable of, how it behaves, what the best response to it is. So I truly appreciate, because they had foremost in their mind the need for learners in this community to be able to get back to learning, and at the same time doing that safely. And I do want to just, and I'm sure you're all aware, many of our teachers, many of our principals fall into that higher risk group. And so that has to be a consideration in addition to what is best for students. Again, it's finding that balance that works for students and is also protective not only of them, but of our educators as well. So our Board of Health did meet yesterday, and we have a number of metrics that they are looking at. We at the staff at the health district look at these data every day. The board is reviewing them officially every 2 weeks. At their meeting yesterday, they did decide to start meeting weekly to review the data. And we look at it county by county, and we're looking at an active case rate. So an active case is someone that we're currently monitoring. Once someone has been released from isolation, they're no longer included in that active case count. And so when we look at Bannock County, our threshold is we don't want to see more than 10 active cases per 10,000 population. Because evidence indicates that once we rise above that, the potential to negatively impact the healthcare capacity in our community goes up. So when the board met yesterday, we had 2 days, and so the threshold for Bannock County is 88 active cases, okay? So when the board met yesterday, we'd had 2 days that were significantly above that threshold. On September 1st, we were at 142, and on September 2nd, we were at 148. Now, I do want to provide the qualifier that we currently are addressing an outbreak at the Bannock County Jail. We have had 45 cases connected to that facility. So even when we allow removal of those cases from our active case count, we are still above our threshold. But because we'd only been there for 2 days when the board met yesterday, they made the decision to leave our county in the minimal risk level. When we got our data at the end of yesterday, that put us at a 3rd day. So yesterday we had 155 active cases. So in Bannock County. So when you take out that jail outbreak again, that leaves us at 110, and our threshold is 88. So that's concerning to us. It's not going in the direction that we would like to see it be going. So when it comes to a recommendation to the school district, and I want to emphasize, we are acting in an advisory capacity only. That is what we have done since the beginning of this situation. And when we met in early March, our recommendation to the school district was actually to please not close schools because of all the ramifications and impact to families that creates. There are so many children who receive 2 meals a day through participation in school. There are working parents who don't have childcare options if their children aren't able to be home, and we recognize that. We are parents ourselves, so we struggle with those same issues. But again, trying to find that balance between overreaction and letting a situation spin out of control. What I'm hoping to prevent is a scenario where it gets bad enough in our community that we would have to resort to all online learning. That is what none of us want, and we've seen that happen in other parts of our state and truly our country. So that's what we're hoping to not have happen. I think that's the solution that the school district adopted with the potential to review on 2-week increments was a very good, reasonable approach that is allowing learners to learn, protecting people more than, and our concern about going back 100% in a middle school or high school is it becomes very, very challenging to physically distance. And that is one of the few tools that we have in our toolbox when we're talking about limiting spread of this virus. So our recommendation, and it is just that, it's a recommendation, it is absolutely your choice what to do, is that you continue on that hybrid model for the next 2-week period, just to see what happens in our broader community overall. Because certainly whatever the school district chooses to do impacts the broader community, and the broader community impacts the school district. So with that, I can stand for any questions that you might have.
Or if we have some in a bit, Maggie, I don't know if your schedule will allow for you to stick around for just a little while longer if you have other meetings, so the board, you may,
Till about 10:40.
this may be your chance. Or up until 10:40, but if you're okay, we'll move forward. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you again. I appreciate the difficult position that you all are in, and thank you for your service.
Thank you for your words. So, last Monday, when the buses were rolling out of the parking lot, I can not tell you how excited I was to see that after 5.5 months. And so I am pleased with where we're at and what we're doing. And as Maggie made mention, we'd asked the board initially to consider reviewing this on about a bi-weekly basis. We've had some considerations asked for in regard to our teaching staff, because if they can plan a little bit further ahead in the hybrid model, they feel like their instruction would be more comprehensive. So as the board has received comments from potentially teachers in regard to instruction, I know that they have asked you to consider putting out another decision, possibly till midterm or until trimester. Presently, we feel pretty comfortable in at least 2 weeks, because we know that this is fluid and that it changes from one day to the next, really. And so today, looking forward to this week from last week, I was thinking perhaps we could consider making a recommendation to you to stagger a schedule to return middle school students, and with some additional precautions to what we could do, and then perhaps bring high school on in another couple weeks. And so, of course, the best laid plans kind of thing. And then, as Maggie pointed out, we had quite a significant jump in cases. Looking toward this weekend, we have a 3-day weekend, and we know that people will want to to celebrate the end of the summer and going into what could be a difficult winter. And so, looking ahead, again, we feel comfortable in 2-week increments because that would give us the 14 days that we might need to make another informed decision at that point. So with that said, the recommendation from administration is to continue the hybrid model for our secondary learners. We've heard a lot of good, positive feedback, and we feel that we've taken all the necessary precautions that we can at the elementary level. But again, the passing time and the lunches at the secondary just causes some concern. And as Mrs. Mann pointed out too, what you've read is there are a lot of options for our learners, because we did include an online program, which to credit of Mrs. Craney, Mr. Orr, and that team, they put that together very quickly. That did offer an option for our learners, but not so much for all of our staff. So we're asking our staff to be there daily and to interact with our learners to continue what we do best and what we want to do. So again, I know that there are a number of folks here that would like to talk to you today, and in addition to the feedback that you've already received through written correspondence. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I'll turn it over to you, and then as the board discusses this at the end of the meeting, and if you need more clarification, the administrative team is here to answer your questions.
Any questions?
No, I don't have any. I'm very close.
So now it's time for public comment. And on this model, and the first on my list is Mary Ann McGrory. Please, you have 5 minutes. I have, there's nine of you, so let's keep it to 5 minutes, please.
Mrs. Johnson will be the timekeeper. She'll just flash you a 3, 2, 1.
Well, I planned on 3 minutes, so
Oh, okay.
I think I'm good. So, good morning, board members, superintendent, school staff, and visitors or guests. As you know, my name is Mary Ann McGrory. I'm the president of the Pocatello Education Association. As such, I represent not only the members of the association, but the entirety of the bargaining unit for School District 25. As you are also aware, I was also part of the committee that developed the roadmap we are currently following during these highly unprecedented times. As an educator, and this is my 30th year in education, there is nothing more that we want than to be in our classrooms every single day with every single student, 5 days a week. However, with the deaths of over 180,000 Americans in just 6 months, and at least 100 of those being educational staff, almost 70 of those just in New York City, we must enact a sensible plan that provides safety and protection for all who work and study in our schools and their families. There's just no easy answer on how to do this. However, the PEA believes that the modified traditional in elementary school and the hybrid model in secondary school is the best course possible at this time, and we encourage the board to vote to continue this model. And we would ask that this model be continued until the end of the first trimester, or at least to midterms, which would be 4 weeks. In recognition of this meeting, I received over 100 emails, as I'm sure you all did receive emails as well. 90 staff members wish to continue on the current schedule. 14 would like to go full traditional. 2 would like to go full remote. And 7 are just plain unsure as what they need. Let me be clear, and as clear as possible. As educators and parents, we know the hybrid model is hard. It is very hard. We as teachers and staff are working harder and longer than we ever have before. However, we must be able to look back at this time once this pandemic is over and say with certainty that our decisions were based on sound and current scientific and medical data and recommendations. I would rather us be accused of overreacting than be responsible for the illness, long-term health repercussions, or deaths due to the coronavirus. By continuing this model until the end of the try, or at least the midterm, we will ease the anxiety of what our schedule will look like every few weeks. We will also have more data in regards to the effect of beginning school on the number of positive cases in our county. We know this is not an easy decision for the board to make, and we thank you for your leadership during these times. We know that no decision ever made will please everyone. Was that time? Oh, okay. On behalf of the PEA and staff, we ask that you decide to continue the current model for the safety and stability of our staff, students, and families. Thank you very much, and I stand for any questions.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Let's see, next on the, let's see, Celeste Anderson.
I'm okay for right now.
You're okay, so. The next is Cammie Stevens.
Good morning. I really wasn't planning on speaking today, so I'm not going to be as organized as she was. But I'm here on behalf of a lot of other parents that couldn't be here. And so I just want to bring up some points that other parents and a lot of concerns that people have. I'm having a hard time with this mask.
We are too.
First of all, with the health department, the 88 active cases model, she stated that that was the number that maybe could increase the hospital's care. Was that what the reason was? It just seems like a very low number. I mean, I think the population of Bannock County is between 80 and 100,000. 88 would be 0.001. That just seems like a really low number to me to base the decision off. Let's see, I'm gonna go and try to get these other points. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware, I'm sure you're aware, that most of the deaths that we're seeing across the country, there's a majority of deaths across the country that people were on hospice. That means they were not treated at all. They were already actively dying and receiving end-of-life care. The death rate is actually, the science is showing that this virus is maybe even less deadly than the flu. So it's really hard to, I mean, I know that the science is changing every day, and so it's hard to know what to believe, but I believe the media. 3 minutes? Okay, I gotta see what I wanna say. I just wanna say that I think that, I don't know if we should be going off of the number of people who are sick. I feel like that we should go off more of the number of people who are hospitalized, because that's what we're worried about, right? We're worried about people being hospitalized and causing our hospitals to be overworked, or so that we won't be able to handle it. So I feel like we should go more off the number of people who are hospitalized. And then also with that testing, I read, it said in the newspaper that those results were over a longer period of time than usual, that they were backlogged. Said that in the newspaper, that it was over a 2-week period. For some reason, I don't remember why the reason was, that the testing, those results were over a longer period of time, so they were skewed. As far as the hybrid system is really a struggle. As parents, we all agree, if they have to be online 3 days a week, they are receiving 0 instruction for those 3 days. So they are getting math assignments where they haven't had any instruction on, and they don't have any opportunity to ask questions because the teachers are in school. They're getting 0 instructions for 60% of their education. That's just not adequate. So they don't even get I mean, I was told that it was going to be, maybe that's not consistent across with every teacher, but from my experience and other parents' experience, our children are receiving zero instruction on those 3 online days. And they are very much struggling with that. They're struggling with, especially the children who have no parents at home to help them. So parents are having to hire tutors or other means of instruction because they aren't getting it and they aren't able to provide that for our kids. So I'm sorry I'm not very organized in my thoughts. I wasn't really planning on speaking today. But I just, on behalf of many other parents, we really would like to urge the board to return to the 5 days a week instruction in school, taking precautions with our masks. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry I wasn't organized. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, next is Jana Bontrager. Right, did I do it right? I'm sorry.
Bontrager.
Bontrager.
It's okay.
Renee, do you need their address also? I can do that. Okay, all right.
Okay. Jana Bontrager, former Franklin Middle School instructor. I have a master's in education and have 14 years of teaching experience. I'm coming to you today as a teacher and a parent, the wife of a doctor here in town, and I'm urging you to take more into consideration than just the hybrid model or nothing for the secondary students. These kids need instruction, live instruction, not just asynchronous, read the screen, poorly put together videos by teachers who were thrown into this online environment suddenly. That happened back in March. It's still happening. I watch my daughter who's in 7th grade, and I watch this. I see it. And as an instructor, I can tell you it is low yield. And if you're providing an education service, it needs to be the best that you can provide for these kids. And it's not. Subpar at best. And all of this is based on conjecture, and yes, these unprecedented times, I get that. But what's more important is the education of these kids. And while we're talking about medical things, while we're talking about safety of the kids, I researched psychological effects of these kids being isolated for so long every day. I had to quit researching because the evidence is overwhelming that in teenagers, this is terrible. And if you think that these kids are going to be at home supervised all day long, you're not thinking about single parents. You're not thinking about 2-income families. And think about yourself when you were 12 years old. Were you self-motivated enough and self-disciplined enough to stay on task for 7 hours unsupervised? Neither are these kids. They can't do it. University of Virginia, Emory University, BYU, the University of Wisconsin, all of these research-based schools are saying teenagers cannot be isolated. These are teenagers. These are 18 and under. They shouldn't be, and that's what you're doing to them by sending them home 3 days out of 5, or worse, 5 days a week, which is what I fear these numbers that we're hearing are going to do to these kids. That's what I fear your decision is going to be. And it will not be based on what's good for the kids. It'll be based on your fear of repercussions with litigation. And I need you to think, we need you to think of the kids, not the bottom line. I need you to think about the kids, please. Make the decision based on what's best for them. Yes, there are risks. Every year we have risks. Every flu season we have risks. I implore you to not give in to the fear. Don't give in to the hysterics. Do what the school districts around you are doing. Snake River, Blackfoot, Marsh Valley, they're going back. And it'll be okay. And at the end of the year, these kids will be fine. So that's what I ask of you. Thank you.
Okay, next, Jess Wood, not Jess Ward, excuse me. Jesse?
Yep.
Jesse Ward.
Jesse. Well, first I want to thank the board. I know that you're here on your own time, uncompensated, and that you've been elected. And that doesn't go without notice. I also want to thank the parents that are here that had the courage to be here. I will tell you that the number one reason is I reached out to people and asked them to be here. The number one reason that people gave that they were nervous to be here was retaliation against their kids if they spoke up. Unfounded or not, it's a fear they have. And it seems to me that fear is what is driving a lot of our decision-making right now. Yesterday, I received 2 emails quoting Idaho code from the district, stating that the district had the right to protect the morals and the health of the pupil. That's what the code says. There is more than one type of health of a pupil. There is the physical health of a pupil, there is the mental health of the pupil, and there is the spiritual health of the pupil. Children, K through 20, have been proven to be extremely resilient to COVID. In fact, in Idaho, there's not one death of a K through 20 student from COVID. In the entire United States, from the CDC, there are less than 10,000 deaths from only COVID, where no other pre-existing health condition existed. Those are facts. The fact that we have gone to nothing but a hybrid model and remote learning is a willful violation of the compulsory requirement that children be in school. I'm not asking to do away with those models, but I want the law followed. I understand it takes a lot of courage. I understand that this can be uncomfortable. That said, in the last 2 days, we have almost 1,000 signatures by petition, people willing to put their names, their address, and their phone number who want a full-time option. There is nothing, not one thing in Idaho code about protecting the moral or health of a teacher. That's just fact. I'm not saying it's not our responsibility, it's just a fact. And that is because it is a sacred duty to oversee the morals and the health of the pupil. It is also assumed that adults are not here by conscription. Is there anybody in this district that's here by conscription? There is not. Adults, we have the ability to choose our employment. That's a fact. I would encourage the board, again, to have courage and add a full-time option and to not take away the ability of the elementary school kids to go full-time. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Jesse. Troy Sutton.
Good morning.
Morning.
I've never been to one of these board meetings. I didn't plan on coming, but I have kids in high school and middle school and elementary school, and over the past few weeks when school started, I've talked with my kids and my wife and a lot of family in town. I've talked with teachers. I've talked with people, doctors at the hospital, and I have yet to find anyone that's happy with the hybrid model, because I think it's goes along with a lot of what he just said about the virus. That's one aspect of it, but there's so much more to the health of these kids that is being overlooked when we just look at statistics and numbers. I just look at so many kids that I know that even if they study really, really hard and do all the assignments, they're not learning near as much as what they can do in school. That's just the learning, not to mention the emotional and the social, all of that stuff. They're totally being neglected. They need to be in school. Doctors say these kids need to be in school. Our pediatrician take our kids in, he said, the kids need to be in school. I feel very, very strongly about that. I was supposed to be working in Soda Springs today. I just left work today to be here. I know a lot of people here have never been to a board meeting, but they're here because they feel strongly about it. And another concern I have about with the hybrid model is it accounts for people who want to be protected, but it doesn't give the option of parents and students who want to go full-time. That's not an option. To be able to not even have that as an option to go to school full-time, I think it's wrong. These kids need to have that option. If they want to go full-time, they should go. If parents want their kids to go full-time, that should be an option. There's plenty of online options for teachers, for students. I was tempted to have our kids go to Marsh Valley so they could go full-time. We have to have an option for kids and parents and families who want to go full-time. If we don't even have full-time as an option, I think it's irresponsible, and we're neglecting a right that we have. We have that right and responsibility to give the option to go full-time if they so choose.
Troy, let's see, Bethany Coffin? Just stepped out.
I'm trying
to get
somebody to pick up my kindergartner.
All right, put back.
My husband's picking up my kindergartner now. Thank you so much, board members. I'm like this mother, I didn't prepare anything, but, and I can't come to you with any facts. I just know I'm coming to you with how I feel. I'm not speaking on behalf of any other parents. I'm just coming as my family and our experiences. I appreciate everything that has been said by everybody. I don't feel 100% like all of the other parents, but I do share some of their thoughts and feelings. So I appreciate all you've done. I appreciate the time and effort that you have gone through and the thought and care you take for our children and for the administrations of our school district. I just know within my household, I have 4 middle schooler and 3 elementary kids, and one of them, and I'm gonna just use her because she's so stinking cute, but she's a new kindergartner, and she is extremely excited to be at school in a classroom with a teacher who loves her, and she knows that she is safe. To ask then to make this kindergartner who is excited and feels safe in a space to then do something that she is unprepared to do, I just feel it's a tad unfair to put on that child who has an excitement for learning and honestly feels safe in a space that you have created and her teacher has created. I will speak for my middle schooler who she is on the hybrid system. She is on the Monday, Thursday, and this concerns me because she will not have face-to-face contact with her teacher for 7 days because of Labor Day weekend. And there are many parents that are going to have that situation with parent-teacher conferences and with holidays and those kinds of things. So when we talk about, thank you. When we talk about face-to-face contact, I believe it is so important for these kids to see their teachers. Now, if that can be modified in a more Zoom to Zoom, or I am a current student at ISU, they are using an OWL system where these kids I can see my teacher and be on a Zoom conference with my teacher, and he can see and be with me. Those are options as well, but to not see a teacher, to have face-to-face contact with a teacher for 7 to 8 days I just feel it is a travesty to not have that contact with a teacher for my child. And again, I am like other parents. I believe that a child is more than just a physical creature. I believe that they have a spiritual side and an emotional side, and we need to service all sides of that child. And I hope that you will take that into consideration when you make and go forward with these decisions. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ashley Merrill. Yep, there she is.
She's not here, is she? I just don't want to speak over, for her, so I'm just, okay. Thank you very much for, meeting with us today and being willing to hear out our voices. I also have 4 children in this school district right now. I have a high schooler that is a senior. I have an 8th grade son that's at Irving Middle School, and I have 2 little girls that are at Indian Hills. I've been in several school districts because we've lived a lot of places in the United States, and I love Pocatello. I was born and raised in Blackfoot in Snake River, and I love this area. We came back here. We made sacrifices and choices to be here because I believe in the people. I believe we live in Idaho for a reason. I believe we are very different. We are not New York City. We live in Idaho for a reason. My kids are smart. My kids are always on the top end. They're great students, and they are struggling with what's happening right now in our district. I really respect Mrs. Maggie Mann. I know I can't imagine the pressures that she's feeling with all the decisions and the job that she currently has. I'm not even sure if she's still here. Their decision to base an 88 count on 10 out of 10,000 people in our community, I think is absurd. I can't even tell you how, to me, that feels so unfair. And I know she took out the Banny County jail numbers included, but I feel like as a community, we are doing our very best. As she even said, we're doing amazing. I think our numbers are not staggering. They're not New York City. They're not New Jersey. They're not these other places that we've seen serious detriment in the communities. But I also think it's because of the hard work that we've put in. And I also think it's because we live in Idaho. We're not living on top of each other. We live in a different area, which we are able to socially distance. We're not in big high-rise apartment buildings and places like that, like back east. I feel like the rules should be different for out here. I know in a 3-week period, there was a petition that went around that I would just like to read. Over 900 of your parents, okay, parents just like me that can't be here right now, 907 is the number that this petition is up to right now, pleading with the district to please listen to us. It says, just a few things it says. It says, we face risk every day. We should each decide what risks are worth it to us and which ones are not. The risk of dying from COVID is far less than the reality of not having access to a quality education for our children. Hybrid learning is not a quality education. Virtual learning is not quality education. For us, sending our children to school in person 5 days a week is worth the risk, just like driving every day or getting on an airplane or going out into a thunderstorm. The risk is worth it to us. Please allow us the choice to have our children participate at school with their teachers. They deserve this. I understand that we have teachers that we have to be considerate of that are at a high-risk group, but I also feel like they have a responsibility to distance themselves in a classroom. There are things that they could do individually where they are at a more high risk. Our kids don't have to be sacrificed for that few. Thank you for listening to my opinion today, and that's all it is. It's just a mom coming to you pleading to just think about our kids and getting back to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Celeste, does she want to speak? She was one of the first ones. Is everybody else done? You're it. Celeste Anderson.
I also didn't prepare anything, but as a mother of 5, I felt I needed to be here and represent their little voices. I, like the last mother that spoke, have very intelligent children, and they are also struggling with this system that we have right now. I feel like if the problems are really just that we can't have them all at the lunchrooms, why can't we require that those who want to be in the classroom take their own lunches to school? I know that we have a program for, the underprivileged that have to be eating at the school. But I think there's a lot of us in Pocatello that could and would be willing to make sure our kids have lunches so that they can be outside while those who don't could be in the lunchroom. I don't feel like that's a really good reason for us not to be in the schools. I also feel like we are not New York City. We never will be New York City, and that's why we live in Idaho. And though I think it's good for us to look outside ourselves and see what's going on around the nation, I don't think we should base any of our decisions on that because we're Pocatello, Idaho, and we have the room to spread out and to social distance ourselves. And I think as a community, we're doing a really good job at that, and that's why our numbers are so low. I also agree with the fact that 88 is a ridiculously low number for us to shut the system down. I work in the healthcare system, and I've had many patients ask me, are you worried because of COVID? I went into the profession knowing that I would be very close to patients and that I put myself at a higher risk. And I think teachers also go into that knowing that they will be surrounded by students that have germs all the time. And most of them are very willing to be in that position. And thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you do for our kids. You guys are doing a good job. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Now it's time for us, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Could we, I would like to talk to Sue Pettit.
Mrs. Pettit?
So, this is time to talk.
Talk away.
Well, the question for me is the teachers. I'm quite concerned about our teachers. The reality is 15% of our teachers say they're not coming to school tomorrow. We don't have enough people to teach.
That's
That
correct.
means the school and or that class is shut down,
That is
right?
correct. That is correct.
right? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so we tried to take the teachers into account seriously.
Mhm.
And can you, I know Mary Ann spoke, but can you tell us a little bit more what you're hearing from the teachers, what they're, I mean, we read their 100 emails
Mhm.
last night, and 85 of them said that they, for this, for reasons. And it's our concern, major. I mean, children need to be back in school, done. I mean, it's a fact, everybody knows that.
We know
but, we don't have school without teachers.
We don't have school without teachers, and currently, with the hybrid schedule that we're on right now, our students can sit socially distant with everyone back in school at the same time. That is virtually impossible in a classroom.
Yeah,
Schools were not built to be socially distant. So their concern is the congregation of students.
Yeah. I
Um,
visited
so-
a classroom at Pocatello High School this
Mm-hmm,
and there was 29 desks in that room.
mm-hmm.
And there was no desk for the teacher, and she had a 3-foot by 4-foot place she could walk, but not down the aisles because it was too close.
Mm-hmm.
Pocatello was not built.
None of our schools are built for social
Yeah,
distancing.
correct. Well,
So,
there are worse there. Anyway, I'm concerned.
so that's one thing. And then, like I said, it's the passing periods and the cafeterias. I don't know how many of you have ever been in a middle school or high school cafeteria at lunchtime, but having been a principal for 2 of the middle schools here in town, there are 2 lunch periods, and right now our middle schools run about 700 kids, so you have 350 kids in a cafeteria. Some of our cafeterias are barely big enough to hold 350 kids if they are sitting right next to each other. So socially distancing in a cafeteria is virtually impossible when everybody's there. As far as having kids eat in the classrooms, teachers are guaranteed a half-hour duty-free lunch, and we would not have people to supervise kids eating in a classroom. So we've encouraged our kids right now to go outside if they're bringing their own lunch, and our lunches are served on paper disposables, and they can go outside and eat. But again, that's only half our kids at a time. So serving, waiting for serving for lunch is a challenge as it is, but with twice as many kids there, it would be significantly harder.
You know, I read through my emails, you know, and
I read through most, yeah,
And
the ones you got to.
I tallied up just the individual ones, not from the teachers, you know, not from teachers or anything, but the individual ones, and
You need to, yeah, we're going to request if you'll speak
Okay.
into the mic.
And can you hear me better now? And anyway, there were, I had just in the last couple of days, there were 26 emails just from parents. And 15 of those were wanting us to go back full-time. And 10 were happy with the hybrid system. I realize most everybody here today isn't happy with that, and if I had kids at home not going to high school or middle school, I probably would feel the same way, you know, because we all know that's where they need to be. That's the best thing for them. You know, our dilemma is to make it work and to make it safe, to make our teachers feel safe. I do feel teachers' lives matter. You know, I know kids' lives matter, but teachers' lives matter too, you know, and like you said, you know, if we had 15% not there, we couldn't have our schools open anyway. So, and then my fear is if we open it just up, you know, then what happens if it would get bad and we'd have to go completely back to online?
Right.
That concerns me. You know, but I guess I'm concerned too about the worries with the hybrid program. You know, and that it's not quite it's not working as well for the kids, you know, some of them. Now, I don't know, can you tell me, I mean, I have grandchildren in Phoenix who are totally online, and they have classes where my daughter gets calls if they're not online with the whole class, where the whole class is there and their teacher is there
Right.
teaching. Are we doing that kind of thing
so
online?
For hybrid, we can't do that.
Okay.
Our teachers are teaching half the kids in person all day long.
Okay, but is there
So-
one day they could do that?
Wednesdays, they do that.
Wednesdays? I mean, I'm seeing parents nodding, no,
I
they
know,
don't.
that's- They can do that on Wednesdays.
On one day a week, they could do that. But they don't.
So
Okay.
what the teachers have been, what we've talked with them about doing is making sure that they are the ones recorded, so that it's their face in front of the kids. They're recording a lesson and putting it online for the online days. And then Wednesday, they are holding a Google Meet, so the kids can get online and have direct instruction on Wednesdays. And if a student cannot sign on at that time, it's been recorded so they can sign on to it at a different time.
And for how long of a period is that?
It varies between an hour to 3 hours.
So it's not like a full class day online or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, I'm just trying to understand this, and I know Superintendent Howell, you said until the numbers went back up, you were considering some other options or things, you know, and I'm sure we'll probably hear about that maybe later, you know, but.
Correct.
Unless, you know, but I just think that You know, we started this hybrid model out, and from the teachers I've talked to, they have told me they have had more one-on-one time with kids in the classroom.
Absolutely.
You know, and that their instruction while they've had them, you know, while it's only 2 days, has still been really good. You know, and that they felt they've got to know the kids better, they've got to work with them better, they've, you know, got to do this. So I'm just telling you what I'm hearing, you know. And I think the ideal thing would be to try to find a way to get them more teacher, student-directed instruction, you know, whether it be online, you know, I mean, where they are doing this, but I think we all need to work together, you know. Some people are really happy with the hybrid system, they feel safe. Our teachers are feeling safe. We had a lot of teachers who didn't really want to come back to school with this fear. And so when we went to that, and the teachers I heard from, they're all feeling pretty comfortable with that, and they're working twice as hard as normal.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, you might not think so because you're not there preparing and doing all the things that they have to do, but I know that they are working really hard. So I don't know, but I think that we need to try and figure out some other options, you know, some.
Our kids are getting half an education.
Something that will kind of
Twice as hard, our kids are
do,
getting half an education.
you know.
It's no substitute,
Well,
it's not working.
this isn't an open,
It should be, because
kind
we're
of
the only
thing.
ones that don't get to discuss. We just are
You know.
to speak.
So this is a board meeting held in public, but it's not a public meeting. So you've had an opportunity to comment, and we appreciate you being here today, and the board will certainly take that into consideration.
And I have to say, some emails that I've gotten have just been critical. You're either going to do this, we're going to sue you, we're going to take you here, we're going to do this. And others have given really good
Rational.
suggestions,
Absolutely.
you know, that are helpful. It's helpful to try and find some solutions that might work better. There was one parent who gave some different ideas about school lunch, and I think that helped, you know, the things maybe we could do. And so I don't know, I just think that you need to realize that there's a lot of issues with this. And I guess.
This is James, can I jump in?
Sure, I'm done.
One of the other things I think that I hear is we're getting input from our teachers about what's working. I'm down in Salt Lake right now, and I'm hearing districts around me where those kinds of care pieces have not been put in place, and so there are teachers who aren't coming back. And, yeah, somebody said that's their choice, but it impacts how a school can function if you don't have enough teachers, if you can't get enough teachers. So I think we have to balance both pieces.
You know, I think we all recognize how difficult this is for everybody. Difficult for parents, difficult for students, certainly difficult for teachers. And I believe we're all concerned to make this as best we can for everyone. And in the end, making this the best means that there are sacrifices that we all have to make and make it work. Because I don't think we want to see kids getting sick or bringing sickness home to parents or grandparents. And I think those all need to be considerations that we make.
And we still do have schools in Idaho who haven't even opened yet. You know, I mean, it's just I don't know. But I see and I appreciate the fact about it's more than just physically, there's the emotional side. And I realize that with kids, and that really does concern me. The emotional side and this social distancing, and I think it affects us all. I think we've all been mentally and physically and everything affected by this. But you do worry about kids with this, and I know our teachers are
Absolutely.
extremely worried about kids. And I know they want to be with them more. We're just trying to get it going in a safe way and hoping that we can just open it up.
And that we can stay open.
Yes, but we want to do it in a safe enough manner that we, once we do it, we feel confident we can keep everybody, or that it's the best thing, and instead of just jumping right in, that we try and do it the best way and see how it works, you know.
Jim, you'd like to chime in?
Well, I've heard it said by some that the kids need to be things need to be consistent for kids. You know, whether it's the hybrid or whether it's full time or whether it's all online, but they need consistency in their life, and it does. You know, this bouncing back and forth is not good. And you know, I know I agree 100% that, you know, kids need to be in school. They need to be in front of their teachers, and the teachers need to have them there. I have 3 of my 4 children that went into education, and I understand, you know, from them those concerns, but they need consistency too. And if we throw them into 2 weeks of this, and then we go into 2 weeks of something else, and then we go back to something, and we bounce them around, I think that's not good for them either.
Okay.
So I had one other thing that I was going to address. We did have a couple questions about Monday holidays and kids missing Monday holidays. And so we went through our calendar, and it's actually the Tuesday, Friday group that misses more days than the Monday, Thursday group. If for the Monday holidays and the teacher work days or parent-teacher conference days. And so my suggestion, if by chance we stay in hybrid for longer than the next couple of weeks, or is that we look on that Wednesday, if you're going to miss a day of school that week, that the students would come on Wednesdays. So I will tell you that the only time this happens, the next time this happens is October 2nd. That's a Friday. And that would make up for this Monday if by chance we were on it for this long. And none of us are hoping to be on hybrid that long. It's November that's tricky. We have Election Day off, which is a Tuesday, and then the following Friday so it's Tuesday, and then another week down is Friday, is the end of the trimester. So that group would miss 2 days that month, and that can't happen. So they would come on Wednesday. The next time it happens is in January, and it's Friday and the following Monday, so the groups would miss the same day. And then in February, it's the same thing. There's a Monday and a Friday within a week of each other, so the group would miss. So it's pretty much, it's that November that we need to make sure that the kids are there on those Wednesdays. And if, like I said, if we're still in October, that Friday group would come on Wednesday also.
Well, it's my hope we would.
I'm
have
hoping
them-
we're not
that we would have them
still
all
doing
back
this,
in school
but-
before.
But we have a plan for if that happens, so.
Okay. You know what?
So, any other questions, statements, concerns?
I guess it's just about, would we be able to modify somehow our hybrid system? If we stay in that, is there some way we could modify that a little bit more so that people are more pleased with what's being offered on the 3 days off? I mean, the 3 days.
So when you say modify, Mrs. Crane, are you,
I just mean instructionally or something so that parents felt they were getting.
so we would, we could reinforce with our principals and our teachers that the off days, the remote days, and especially that Wednesday need to be as rigorous as what they would receive in face-to-face. And I think we communicated that early, but certainly as we've been through this, our second week now, we can again address that and reinforce it. And as you've read in the emails and from a statement from Ms. McGrory, that the teachers feel that they're working pretty hard and way beyond their contract hours to try to make this work. So, but we would certainly ask them again to improve.
Well, and again,
yeah.
the decision to go into hybrid was made close to the beginning of school. So that first week of school, they were still all getting on board. The second week, I've been told by several parents that it's better this week, and it will continue to get better.
Shortly.
Can I just say that they don't need more homework, they need more instruction.
Mhm.
That's the problem. We don't need them to get on more homework.
You know,
We need
Okay.
more instruction.
Okay.
thank you.
Let's know.
When we shut down in March, April, whenever it was, but that was a mad scramble. It
Yep.
sure was. But I heard that teachers were pulling off, miracles. But they were answering questions on their own at night or early in the morning, weekends. Is that still happening? I know that
Yes.
that's off contract, whatever, but they're out of their goodness of their heart.
Teachers care about their students. They care about their kids.
So they get an
And
email at 6 o'clock
They
at night.
want
and-
their kids to get there. I mean, they're heartbroken that they can't have the kids in front of them. We all know that 5 days a week is the best model. And teachers will do anything they possibly can to help kids get the education they deserve. They're doing the best they can. So yes, we have several, I would say the majority of our teachers are answering questions in the evenings, after school, weekends. They don't want their kids to have to wait for an answer.
Well, and I think our parents are experiencing a variety of things where teachers are concerned. It's just like if you were in school, and there are different levels of teachers and different things that way, and I know my one daughter would say, oh, this teacher calls, all the time, or she does this or this, and then the other teacher doesn't do near that. I'm just saying that's the nature of the thing. So I think some are having really good positive experiences and some aren't, and so I see the frustration with parents, and that kind of happens in school, face to face sometimes too. It just, so I don't know, what the answer is there, but I think that you've done, it sounds like a lot to try to encourage and get them.
We have.
And hopefully those that weren't my hope is those that when this happened in March, that weren't as
Technology savvy.
Yeah, savvy, have become much better. And you've offered
Absolutely.
courses and classes and everything on that.
We had classes most of the summer for teachers and for our new teachers also, to build their technology skills.
And so hopefully we can get better. And I did hear, I know from one high school teacher who would call her kids and check on their well-being every week, and things. And I guess as a board, I would just like to encourage more of that kind of thing, that teachers are checking on kids, and just trying to, and the whole question thing, like you said, they were answering questions.
Trying to help.
Yeah.
Sorry, the problem with that though is that there's no consistency. There's not consistency from one elementary school on one side of town to the other side of town. So the district has given these, whatever guidelines, rules, whatever you wanna call it, but we have completely different, there's no
Right.
consistency. There's none. One school's doing this and this and this, and the other school's doing something completely different. in the same town.
Yeah, that's, yes, yes.
I'd like to answer or to address some things as the teacher in here. I have answered questions. I had a student who turned in an assignment at midnight. And because my Google Classroom is on my phone, it dinged and I looked and I said, I engaged with that kid. Why are you doing this at midnight? And he goes, oh, I'm just still awake. So yes, we are going above and beyond. But the expectation that we have to go above and beyond?
No.
No, that's what
No,
I'm hearing.
it's from us, it's from the heart. We're doing this from the heart.
I understand.
Okay.
But the idea that I should have to be answering questions and emails, I visited every single one of my students during that lockdown. I took them treats. I called. And to hear the idea that we are not committed and that because the law doesn't say that the board has to protect us, then we should just be thrown to the wolves. That is exactly what has been said by several parents here. So I want you to know that my teachers and my staff, we are pulling more hours than we have ever done in our career.
I'm sure you are.
And this technology is very new to many people. I'm 52 years old, but I have learned all this technology and I'm utilizing it. But it is the second week of school and the first week was getting these computers out, getting the kids familiar with it, and we need time to get into our groove to meet these higher expectations for us than really are comfortable for me as a teacher to have.
Doug, your recommendation was to hold the same, what we're doing now for the next 2 weeks, meet again?
Yes, and if that be the case, Mr. Chairman, you would not have to take any action today. If you consider changing it, then we would have you take action. And if I just might add, with regard to the teaching staff, we did talk to our principals and we said, put a limit on your day just for yourself. So they may start at 7, they may start at 6, but we said, you know what, past 7 at night or 8 p.m., you need to take time for you. And I think Mrs. Craner addressed that a little bit earlier. I think we're all having, some difficulty navigating our way through this. So we're not asking them to be on call 24/7. And so, yes, Mr. Chairman, with that, those are you can change or you can leave it the same. You can, and then we can talk about a future meeting if you want to address something, a different option into the future, if that's 2 weeks, if that's.
Well, when this first came out that we're gonna meet in 2 weeks, I didn't like it.
Okay.
Come on, we're just getting into it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we talked to the people. That's
Sure.
great. And all
Yeah.
is fine, but and when back in my mind, I thought maybe we should hold this thing out longer, midterm, trimester, but,
Well,
I guess in my heart right now, I think 2 more weeks, we meet here again. You're welcome to come and talk, and decide, is this thing working? Can we change it? This Labor Day weekend's gonna be out of the way. We're gonna see what that looks like. Maybe the numbers are gonna start declining and we can feel safe, along with our teachers feeling safe. Does that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
well, and I saw where the teachers recommended that we go at least midterm.
Yes.
Or try,
Yeah.
because it's better to plan long-term. So I was taking that into thought, and my first feeling was just go midterm, and I mean, we've got to give this some time it's just getting started and hopefully we can work out some of these questions and concerns, that we've heard here today. Give it time. They're just starting in a new year. I mean, as a former teacher, I know what the beginning of school's like, starting up, and until you get in routines and your grooves and, things. So, and I really was probably in favor of going to midterm. But seeing concerns from parents and everything, I'm probably with you, Dave. I think maybe we should readdress that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That makes sense, and we can see how this thing's going.
Janie? Is she still there?
Yeah, Janie, are you still there? Probably on mute.
Gotta figure out how to turn it off. Maybe she's not there. Jim, you want something to add?
She's still
No,
connected?
I was just gonna ask, when is midterm?
Midterm is October, hang on.
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
It's
No, yeah, it's 4 weeks from today, so it's October 2nd.
I don't have a
Um,
problem meeting in 2 weeks. Or,
2 weeks.
um,
Um,
I'm here now, I finally found my mute button. I agree with 2 more weeks, and evaluate them.
I think we owe it
To everyone.
to see how it can work. We're just, and we've heard concerns now from the public of what you're concerned about. Mrs. McGrory, who's over teachers, and the staff have heard those, so we can see what we can, if we can, how 2 more weeks goes. That's my feeling.
Okay. Done.
Can I just make one comment? I just want you to consider how all of the other districts surrounding us are back in full-time.
Yeah, well,
How are they able to do it? Maybe we need to ask them.
we ask a lot of people a lot of things, but we're doing what we think is right now. So, done. 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks, and no, that's enough. That's enough. No, that's enough. 1 more and then done.
We really, as parents, like, we really, really do appreciate you guys. We know you don't get paid, like, we love the teachers. We wouldn't be anywhere without our teachers. We love them dearly, and we want them to be safe too. Just a suggestion, Ms. Craner said, maybe instead of being frustrated, come with suggestions. Like, I don't know if as a community, we could look at maybe the numbers in our schools that are actually coronavirus. Instead of our community as a whole that incorporate ISU and the jail, and maybe we could look at what's really happening in our schools to go forward, because I'm not hearing anyone sick.
No, there have been some.
And I will tell you that,
And we don't have any access to
Yeah,
that
there have been
information.
some.
So maybe as parents, we would be more understanding if we
Done?
knew. That's all I was gonna say, thank you.
Okay, that's it, done. Bring all your stuff back 2 weeks from now.
So you'll need to make a motion?
Oh, we don't know, you said we don't need a motion.
Oh, yep,
Yes,
you adjourn.
Okay.
I move that we adjourn.
Is
You
there
can
a
just
second?
adjourn the meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Just say.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Didn't hear it. I hereby declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Janie.
Thanks.
You're gone.
No, it wouldn't come from
No.
us, but I tell you,
I would have been disappointed had you not.
yeah.
That's good.
When the one person said what he said, I wanted to
there, like, we've asked
jump
our
out of my
teachers
seat.
to make sure they set professional boundaries. They've gone too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
They just sign up like
I
emergency
did.
dress.
I just I thought teachers' lives don't matter. I mean,
I think that's gonna be our new shirt.
and we don't have anybody.